Made on Market Studio, Episode 1, Tulip Bulbs and Touch Grass, a field guide to not being alone. Oh shit, I'm making a podcast. Welcome to Made on Market Studio, your new favorite midlife crisis, except it's not actually a crisis. It's more like a midlife rediscovery, brought to you by just another millennial woman who feels compelled to share everything on her mind. And I'll show you some paintings or whatever it is I'm working on as I do. Honestly, who doesn't want to listen to another podcast by someone who's gone to therapy, who chooses to make a podcast so they can process their feelings? That's right, you're welcome. We're here for this. I will paint, I will create, I will rant, and you, listener, are probably someone who enjoys a good rant. You might spend local, you might compost, you might have a garden. I don't have a garden, but apparently that's the energy I feel like I'm bringing to the table. This is Made on Market Studio. Thanks for being here. Let's have some fun. So earlier this week, I walked up to the farm about a mile from our house and I dug up tulip bulbs because apparently this is a thing that happens in the Northeast in mid-May, and I have to tell you, I am very much here for it. We are part of a CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. That's just a fancy way of saying that in the late winter, the farm offers these subscriptions where you give the farm money and in exchange, you get a share of the produce. So when the growing season kicks off, the farm gives us our share. So late June through October, once a week, we get to go down and pick the fruits and vegetables, eggs, sometimes jelly or ciders, and a variety of things that they make in their farm store. Everything is either from them or from a local farm if it's not something they can produce themselves. It creates just this really abundant way to get our produce for the growing season. I grew up in a place where this wasn't a thing. So moving to New England and discovering that there are farms on every corner of every town was not something I was prepared for, but I love it. And I do have to address something. I feel really lucky to be in a position where we can access a CSA. It's definitely an investment. It requires flexibility, just accepting what you're going to get each week and using it up. It requires being able to front the money before the season begins, which I know is something that not all people can access. So I don't want to wash over that. I realize not everyone can do that, and I don't take it for granted one single minute. 2, 3, 4 years ago, we were not in a position to do this. We are so grateful, and this is our second season being able to participate. All that to say, what I found being part of the CSA is that it has made me feel really genuinely enmeshed in my community in ways that I did not foresee. Because by example, when I go to the grocery store, I don't feel particularly connected to the community of people that I am shopping near, right? But at the CSA, there are these perks that even throughout the growing season and before and after, you get to come to the farm to experience things. And that brings people with a shared interest of local produce and community together in a single place at a single time for these events. And you get to know these other people. And if I'm in a space where I value things like buying local and the other people I'm encountering in that space are there, well, they probably hold on to similar values, right? So it's not a stretch to start making these connections and wanting to form friendships. And that's one of the ways community gets built. I also have this investment, right, where I get to play a direct financial role in the farm being able to get started every year. That investment is giving back in more than just produce. It gives me a reason to show up, a reason to connect, a reason to care, and it creates these communal shared experiences that expand and broaden my own horizons. I am a lot of things. A gardener is not one of them. I'm a renter. I don't have an outdoor space that I can put a garden in, and honestly, even if I did, I don't think that I have the patience for it. It's just not my thing. One thing I am, though, is I'm a connector. And what I mean by that is I connect loose ends. I connect people to each other who I think will suit each other for, opportunities. I connect solutions to problems. I connect overages to shortfalls. If there's a thing over here and a need over there, my brain builds that bridge. It's something I love doing, and it's something I do in my employment. It's just how I'm wired. So last week, when I got this email from the CSA, It was a call for any members who wanted to come and pick up tulip bulbs out of the ground because the season is over. And this is something that they sell to the general public. But if you're a member, you can come and do it for free. They had this like firm deadline. The farm was going to be tilled over at the end of the weekend. And if you wanted to go, this was the time to do it. So I got this email and I knew I had a few days to decide and to take advantage of it, but I also know I really want to go because what a fun thing to do. And my brain immediately did its thing. I don't have a garden, so I don't need these tulip bulbs. I don't have a use for them, but I have a friend who could use them. And this friend has been working really hard to be outside and be in her garden because it brings her a lot of joy and satisfaction. And I think that the challenge of it also sometimes stresses her out, but I felt like this was such an exciting way to give her something to play with. So I made a plan that when Sunday comes, I'm going to go to the farm and I'm going to get the bulbs. Simple, right? Not so much. I dug up the bulbs and I did have a little difficulty because it was a BYO trowel situation and I had a dollar store trowel on hand because, again, not a gardener. And after I finished in the field, I began my 15-minute walk home. And that's when my brain decided it was really time to get into it. So I have anxiety and I had mentioned the bulbs already to my friend at work. And she said that she'd love them. And she immediately followed with, super don't want to impose though. And I told her, nope, you are not imposing at all. Like, I am going to go and do this, but if it's raining, I'm not going to. So she had already told me she didn't want to be an imposition, but that she would love the bulbs. I had already told her that it was fine. We had already had this entire conversation. And yet, for the entire 15-minute walk home, I could not bring myself to text her that I had gotten these for her because anxiety decided to set in. What if she felt like I had done too much? What if even though she wanted the bulbs, she'd felt bad that I'd gone and dug them up specifically for her? What if she said thank you, but secretly felt like she owed me something, and then that made the dynamics of friendship weird? And here's where the anxiety got really creative, because remember, I wanted to do this. I chose to do this. Nobody made me go and dig those bulbs up for my friend. The weather was beautiful. It was not raining. I enjoy that walk to the farm. I did it all because I wanted to. And I don't have a use for the bulbs, but because I'm a connector, because that's who I am and what I do, I knew that those bulbs had a purpose I could help serve, so I could get to do the thing I wanted and also bring the bulbs to somebody who wanted them. So by definition, it could not have been too much, right? It never was imposing. But try explaining that logic to my anxious brain on that walk. Because I created this whole catch-22 where now I couldn't give her the thing I wanted to give her, the thing I dug for her, for fear that she would think I had imposed myself on her. When in reality, doing this for her was its own reward. I wanted to do it, but I could not stop worrying that she'd think it was. I got home, I stood in the threshold, I put down the bag that has the tulip bulbs in it, and I think to myself, I literally have no purpose for these. I cannot waste them. That goes against my values. I don't home compost. They're already out of the ground. They have to go to someone. I finally sent the message. Hey, I got you like 35 tulip bulbs. She replied immediately, and this is on a Sunday morning, mind you. Oh my God, what do I owe you? And I reply, super cool under pressure, as I always am, just your undying friendship. And she replies, deal. Period. That's it. That was the whole thing. 15 minutes of an anxiety spiral over an act of kindness. Here's the thing. The bulbs were getting tilled under the next day regardless. The farm didn't need them anymore. They'd served their purpose for the season. The field had to turn over so that the next batch of crops could be sown. That's how it works. Other people in the community also got that email, and came to dig. Other people in the community are not members, but felt that there was value in that, and they were there digging. I was not alone in that field while I struggled with my dollar store trowel, looking like an absolute noob. Those bulbs were going to go back into the earth either way. But I had a friend who wanted exactly this thing. And without me bringing these bulbs, she might have gone and purchased some flowers from a store. And in this scenario, I saved her that expense, saved her that labor of having to go and get them. And nothing new was manufactured. It was value that moved from the farm through me to my friend's garden. And to me, this is community. Community is this like web or chain of people who give a damn enough about each other to see where there are needs and where there are people whose needs can be met, right? Like seeing where the things are and moving them to where the needs are. That's community. And that's, to me, part of what I'm doing in my current season of life, right? We, specifically me as an American, my experience, we see each other participate in this economy where the answer is to always buy things more or new. And so many of our issues, like I get, are outside of the realm of like normal, regular, everyday people being able to make and affect change. But the places we can make and affect change are locally, in our local community, being a part of our community and having a voice as a community. And I have this absolute belief that we have enough, or we have the capability to have enough of everything for everyone, right? Like globally, we do. And it's not a need, like a scale issue. It is a logistics issue. And locally, we can make logistics happen. We can find ways to rely on not just currency, and we can move things without money, right? Like, that's not to say my friend didn't not have the money to go buy flowers, right? But like, I was able to instead help her circumvent needing to spend dollars, like spend dollars on other things where we need to. That's fine. But like, why do we not have this sharing economy locally? Well, it takes people sharing locally to have that economy. And to me, in a time where I don't feel like I have a lot of say in things, and I feel like politically I don't have a lot of faith in what is going on, what I can do, the acts of resistance that I do have, are the change that I can create locally and being the change I want to see. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what this podcast is going to be about. And that's what the stories that I hope to share and bring to this are going to be about. And, you know, here's the thing, being in community and having anxiety come into conflict with one another. Like, those are things that can be in tension for me. Because when I'm feeling anxious, I sure don't want to be social, or I feel like I can't go somewhere because of how I'll be perceived, or I don't know, I just have all kinds of things I'll get worked up about. Sometimes you need a vehicle, not like a vehicle vroom vroom, a vehicle like an opportunity to create stronger community with my work friend. I was able to give her something, right, to help her with her gardening. And I didn't have to come up with that from scratch. I didn't have to find something to buy to give her. And that's what I mean by a vehicle. So giving myself something like a subscription, being able to have a way to participate and put me physically in a place where things like this can happen, ways to build community at the farm with other farm members, outside of the farm, in my own extended community. These are things that give me an opportunity to not have to start from scratch, but I get to be brave, and I get to challenge my anxiety, and I get to put myself out there. And, you know, sometimes it's not about being brave coming from your own just like intuition or willpower. Sometimes you just have to build the structure. And for me, building the structure is getting myself out and about in the community, capitalizing on the ways I can put myself out there authentically and be around people that I feel we have aligned values. Part of the issue, I think, for me is I'm not really on social media, like genuinely barely on anything except maybe where you're listening to this. And that's a choice I make. And I feel a lack of connectedness is partly a result, but it makes me put a higher value on the in-person community that I am building for myself to feel connected. And that's a challenge, but it's also a benefit. One of the benefits is I have a friend who got to plant the bulbs, right? I gave them to her at work, and the next day she came back in and had already planted them the same afternoon she got them. So she was so excited, and she told me, she told a bunch of our coworkers, like we all got to hear about her hanging out in the garden with her family and like planting these bulbs. She's hopeful about them coming back next year. And we got to talk about this, you know, coming from the CSA. And like, I just felt like this was such a special story to share to the people that we interacted with that day, and also to share now here with you, because it's really simple, right? Like this wasn't some big extravagant thing, and yet this is community. And like, I don't know if there was some adult 101 course that I missed somewhere along the way because I was doing other things as a young adult, but I feel like finding and making genuine friendship and being involved in community is not a thing I have ever had a way to practice. And the closest I have come to it has been being really involved in my work communities. And for better or for worse, that means that when I have left those communities, I have left those communities, and I struggle to maintain a lot of long-term friendships outside of that. And so I hope that this story helps inspire you. If any of this has resonated with you, this is episode 1. This is what this podcast is going to be about. And I want to leave you with this. If this episode has resonated with you, I challenge you to make a connection, compliment someone, hold a door open, do something for somebody else in your community that doesn't benefit you beyond the peace and joy you get to witness it bring them. Little actions make a big difference, especially locally. And despite all the bullshit happening in the world right now, we all as individuals have the power to connect. We have power when we are in community together, and that power doesn't go away unless we let it. Anyway, next spring, tulips are going to come up in my friend's garden, which started as a field up the road from me getting tilled, which started because my family is part of the CSA, which started because we moved to a town with a farm, which started, well, you'll just have to hang out for some more episodes. And that's what I'm going to talk about on this podcast. That and whatever else is rattling around in my brain. This is my midlife crisis project, and I am choosing to be very good at it. Maybe it'll be funny. Maybe it'll be more like this. Hopefully both on a good day. Okay, go touch some grass. As in, get outside, get your hands in the earth, and then go be nice. Until next time, this is Made on Market Studio. If you like this podcast, please consider checking out previous episodes. Already have? Subscribe for future updates on YouTube, Substack, and more. Check out Made on Market Studio.